everyone, that Green Mutant Buster again. So, this week I played my way through Fight Crab on the Nintendo Switch, and if you don't know about this one, oh man, you are in for a treat. So, Fight Crab was maybe one of the games I wanted to play the most this year. That and No More Heroes 3 right now. It had this super long development cycle, and it was developed by this pretty small 20 or so person indie team. Now the name is a play on an old movie that you might not have heard of called Fight Club, starring Brad Pitt. But in this version, it's a crab. So why was I so hyped about this game? Well, it looks stupid as hell. Also, crabs are freaking delicious. So now that the game is finally out, well, did it live up to the hype? 50-50. The game fluctuates between being great and extremely free in terms of play and what you can do. But then a lot of the game's UIs and the other parts of the game seem completely unpolished and below the acceptable levels for a console game. The UI is probably the worst thing. It looks like it was made in MS Paint. It's extremely skanky, and I don't know what I did, but at one point I adjusted some of the game's options, and the game's font changed to a much uglier, worse font for ever since. Also, the game crashed on me at least 3 times, so that's pretty disappointing. Now, on the other hand, the actual gameplay in the game is pretty impressive. Beating the game's main campaign took me about 4 days, but the reason it took me 4 days had everything to do with the game's balancing, or rather the lack thereof. So, this game has 22 different crabs you can play as. Although, since one's a shrimp and one's a lobster, I guess it's really more like 20 crabs and 1 shrimp and 1 lobster. Now, the crabs are pretty expertly modeled and look great, although for some reason the scale of the crabs is a bit inconsistent. It seems like for the most part they averaged out the sizes of all the crabs, but then a couple of them are still gigantic. But quite frankly, I was disappointed that the coconut crab in this game is actually pretty small, and in real life a coconut crab is bigger than a dog. Anyway, I decided to play the game's basic campaign using the starter crab, the snow crab. The nice thing about the game is you can choose to stick with the crab you like or swap it out at any time, as long as you have the cash to unlock a different crab. Also, the game has this really weird tag team wrestling meets Super Smash Bros. Style play. So the idea is you take your main crab and you upgrade it, but then you have a partner crab and you upgrade them too, and they're a tag team wrestling team. That's how you get through everything. Oh, and one thing I did not like about this game was even though you have a wide variety of stages with the crabs fighting in the water and out of the water, due to some weak physics, the crabs always fight like they're fighting inside water. And they behave like they would if they were inside water. And when they're on land, I quite frankly think they should be a little bit faster. Anyway, spoilers from this part on for the crab game, but this is basically how my play of the main campaign went. So basically in the main campaign, there are 7 tournaments you need to fight through to finish the game. The first tournament is Crustacean City, where all the crabs are gigantic and they fight like giant monsters. This stage is awesome, but I feel weird that it's the first stage. And also at one point a lobster comes out and it appears to be using the pods from Anakin Skywalker's Episode 1 Pod Racer. So stolen assets much? And then there's a medieval weapons tournament set inside a castle where all the crabs fight like knights. This was pretty cool. Then after that, there's a Chinese martial arts tournament set in a Chinese restaurant where all the crabs fight like kung fu fighters. I like this stage a lot because you can knock the crabs off the table for an easy win. And then you get to a ninja stage, set in a back alley in Japan, except it's underwater. The boss here is an Esenjima spider crab, and it is so huge that it barely fits inside the stage. So now I'm going to pause right here. So that was the 4th tournament out of 6, and then the 7th one is like a special high difficulty one. So I managed to make it completely from the start of the game to here without purchasing any upgrades or any items or anything. Now this is where those balancing issues I was talking about come into play. because after I reached the Spider Crab, I had to upgrade way more frequently to keep playing the game. Also, in my play, because of the way I wanted to play the game, I only upgraded the crab's offense and defense. I did not bother upgrading any of the crab's other stats, because honestly I enjoyed how slow and clunky the crabs were moving around. It looked funny to me and I didn't feel comfortable changing that. Especially since as you go on, the upgrades get more and more expensive. So anyway, back to the Spider Crab in the Ninja Tournament. That completely messed me up. Now, I kept upgrading, and after the 5th tournament, which was set in a grocery store, where you had to fight these Star Wars crabs, I eventually reached the last tournament on my first day of playing the game. So the last tournament is the Celestial Beach. Once you reach it, you also unlock the 7th extra tournament. But the Celestial Beach is a weird one, because it's the last tournament in the game, and considering the whole game up to this point had tag team wrestling rules, Celestial Beach completely screws you over and makes you fight with only your main crab. So that freaking sucks. I wasted the whole game powering up my tag team partner just to find out that when I get to the final, he's useless. So anyway, because of that and some other reasons, I got stuck on Celestial Beach for over 2 days. Because out of nowhere, the difficulty just ramps up like outstandingly on that one. So in the meantime, since I was stuck, I played the extra tournament, where you do still have your tag team buddy. Now the extra tournament is not so bad. The first stage is underwater, and it's actually super easy. But then the second stage, that was another stage I got stuck on for at least over a day. So in the second stage, you have a bunch of crabs fighting inside a little baby daycare center. Except the floor is moving around, and also there's this tiny little toy train going around the daycare center. And the toy train keeps slamming into your crabs and killing them. I was stuck here for the longest time because either the train would kill me, or it would prevent my tag team partner from bringing me back to life, or providing any kind of assistance for me in the stupid daycare center. Eventually, though, I finished the extra tournament, and then I replayed it a bunch of times to level up my crabs high enough to finish Celestial Beach. There are endless versions of the other tournaments too, and higher difficulty ones, but for grinding up the levels, the rewards just aren't that decent. So I ended up having to level up my main starter crab from level 0, I guess, to level 26. In the end, he had an offense of 31 and a defense of 14. So the final fight in the game is against the Dark Lord of all crabs or whatever, and he is shooting like Dragon Ball Z energy blasts and all kinds of shit. When I fought him, I put almost about 400% damage on him before he finally gave up and died on me. Now, the ending of the game is not really an ending at all. It's just some stupid shit. Your crab flies off in space and then credits. I mean, wow, I haven't seen credits or an ending that bad since like the NES. Like, damn it, game, you really could have done better than that. And then the game also has some multiplayer modes. I'm going to try those out in the future. Right now I just don't have anyone to play with, but there is an online co-op mode, except during this week I was playing through the game, literally I could never find anyone else playing this game, so that was really sad. But again, this is a weird game. It's a great weird game, and it's honestly one of the most unique original fighting games I've played in years. Like, the battle system in this game is kind of like Smash Brothers, but it's executed in these massive 3D arenas, and then the game's motion controllers give it this nice exercise challenge situation that you previously only saw in like ARMS on the Switch. And yeah, the fighting is just completely solid. But then the overall game outside of those fights is just completely unpolished. And it's not what you expect on a console. Between the ugly and uncreative AI and then the complete lack of story, this game is really just trying to ride its quirkiness from dusk till dawn. So, Fight Crab gets a 6 out of 10 from me. The fights are amazing. The fights are why you play this game. The fights are pretty much always a surprise for you, and they're just always completely insane and completely intense. But the grinding in this game is so unbalanced. You basically struggle to grind for days if you want to finish the game. I mean, if you do reach the extra tournament, that has some pretty decent rewards, but then there's just still this lack of polish on the whole game. This game was in development for over 2 years, and I feel like all these minor polishing issues could have been straightened out by just having a UI designer working on this game for a few weeks. Still though, it is a really, really fun and unique experience, and it's probably the only decent punching game on the Switch aside from ARMS that I would go out of my way to play. So that was Crab Fight, or rather Fight Crab. I'm hungry now. I really want to eat a spider crab. God, that looks like so much meat. Ah, meat. Anyway, that was my fun review of the week. Guess I had a lot to say about the crab game, huh? Well, anyway, please subscribe to my channel because I try to release review videos like this every Friday. Alright, later guys. Crab.